Welcome to another episode of Mapping Out Rental Areas in a City. Today we're going to be covering Timmins. Timmins is a 7-hour drive from Toronto and has a population of 42,000 people. Timmins is a very, very strong cash flowing market, one of the strongest in Ontario. I looked into the duplexes and triplexes and fourplexes sold there, and almost all of them exceeded the 1% rule. So certainly a lot of strong cash flow, but keep in mind when you do invest in a strong cash flowing market like Timmins, you have to be aware that it's a lot different than something like a Toronto or a Hamilton, because it strongly relies on the gold mining industry. Anyways, to talk more about Timmins, I have Jacques Pepin, who is our guest today. He's a local realtor there who specializes in multifamilies. He has a ton of knowledge about multifamilies and Timmins, and he drops a lot of this Timmins knowledge in this video. I hope you guys find it useful, and if you do, please like and subscribe. And without further ado, here's the video. Cool. Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be covering Timmins, and to help us with that, we have Jack. Jack, do you want to introduce yourself?
I sure can. Thanks for asking. My name is Jacques Pepin. I'm a realtor in Timmins, Ontario. Jacques is French. You can call me Jack if you're English. That's fine as well. I've been in a realtor in Timmins for some time, and I tend to specialize, I guess, in multi-units.
Mm-hmm. So like more than from 2 units to like to as big as like I'm guessing like 10 unit buildings?
Yeah, sort of like whatever we got kind of idea. However, typically speaking, the majority or the lion's share of the multi-units in Timmins are duplexes, triplexes, some fourplexes. When you start getting into fiveplexes and above, they're a little more rare, and everything changes when you get into fiveplexes and above, right? It becomes commercial, insurance is higher, everything goes up, down payment. So most of the people that I deal with are local residents looking on investing in local real estate, usually like triplexes and down, fourplexes and down, I would say is the majority of the people I deal with. But I do have investors that like the bigger properties, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But as I'm sure that you guys can attest to, when you start dealing with 40% down payments on 7 or 8 plexes, $1 million deals, it's not the regular Joe Blow that can sort of look at possibly coming up with that kind of down payment.
I know what you mean. I know you created a map for us, and we're going to go talk about that. But before that, do you want to kind of give a brief overview of Timmins and like just like the population there, maybe the economy?
Sure. The city of Timmins is in Northern Ontario, and it owes its birthright to the riches of the Canadian Shield. Timmins is known as the City of Gold. In 1912, Noah Timmins founded the town to house the employees of the Hollinger mine. In 1973, the town amalgamated with its neighboring townships, and the city of Timmins was born. The city has grown since its inception, with a residential population of approximately 45,000 people. We service a region, however, of about 117,000 people. The city of Timmins is one of North's largest regional centers up in this area. The city's economy is based on natural resource extraction and is supported by industries related to lumbering and to the mining of gold, zinc, copper, nickel, and silver. Just a few little things to note too is the city of Timmins is 3,185 square kilometers, making Timmins one of the largest cities by size in Canada.
Wow.
60% of its population is under 44 years of age. 50% of its population are bilingual, French and English.
Wow.
The area has over 500 lakes and scenic rivers that make it ideal for recreation and the tourist industry. Ta-da! That's it.
Wow. So a lot of tourists coming up to Timmins, eh?
Not a lot of tourists, but I would say a lot of outdoorsmen. You know, if you're looking
Mm-hmm.
at moose hunting, fishing, ATVing, snowmobiling, yeah, it's hard to beat Timmins and surrounding area.
Mm-hmm. All right. I might consider moving there after that little. I'm joking.
Well,
All right.
you got to buy a sled, and just keep in mind too that it's really, really cold in Timmins. The
Yeah.
winters are crazy cold.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the cold actually.
Yeah, I'm not either. I don't know. I don't even know why I live here, to be honest with you.
All right. Jacques, can you see my screen, right?
I can.
Okay, awesome. So again, thank you so much for preparing this. We're gonna go over this map. I see there's like a couple of sections that you have here. Why don't you start off with this south section, which you've labeled the South of Timmins?
Okay. If you want, what I could give you is just a little bit of information first about multi-units. What I could tell you about the multi-units is that in Timmins and surrounding area, there's not like this huge difference in multi-units and the prices and that kind of stuff. The like you had said, let's categorize the different sections of the cities in A, B, C, A minus, B minus, or whatever. But the problem is with some of those higher locations, like the A pluses, the A minus, the B pluses, the B minuses, there are not a lot of multi-units in those areas. They're pretty rare, you know. So we're looking more at C pluses and down. And typically the range there, to give you an idea, basically ranges. Well, I'll give you an idea. Let's say you wanted to rent a bachelor pad in Timmins, or you wanted to buy a bachelor pad and rent it. The average, it would go probably for about $650 to $950 for rent, the average being $750. A one-bedroom unit would be about $850 to $1,100, the average being $1,000. So $1,000 a month is a typical average. Two-bedroom unit, $900 to $1,300 is a typical two-bedroom. The average is $1,200. And then a three-bedroom unit would be anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500, and the average there being approximately $1,400. The overall average of all the rents in Timmins are about $945 a month. However, the problem with some of this is that you have it's the quality of the duplex. So you could have a really, really nice duplex and that'll fetch the higher range, but next to it, you could have a shittier duplex that'll be in the lower the range, you know. But typically those are the numbers as far as what you could expect to get from rent in Timmins. So when we go through the different areas, if I say a C plus or whatever, and you say to me, what kind of rents do we get? I would say, well, for example, a two-bedroom, $900 to $1,300, but if it's C plus, it's probably at the top of the scale. It's like in the $1,300, $1,200. But again, it depends if the place is nice or not.
Of course,
So it's hard.
I guess laundry is a big thing, right? If it has laundry or not have laundry, right?
Well, laundry, parking, condition of roof, water penetration is huge, right? Is there any water penetration in the basement? That's probably the number one expense for an investor. If he has some water penetration in the basement, that could be, you know, if you have to dig it up and put weeping tiles or whatever, it could be $20,000, $30,000 depending. The roof, the furnace, all that comes into play, but that would affect the price. However, the rent would depend on the quality of the unit. If you go into a unit and it's like really crappy, well, you're going to get, you know, $700 or whatever. But if it's well maintained, it's a nice friggin' place. It's, you know, the landlord cares about his tenants and he cares about keeping his units nice, then you're looking at the higher scale.
Gotcha.
Sorry for
no, that's perfect.
Let's go back to the map.
No, but basically what I'm getting from this is that like throughout Timmins, the rents are similar, right?
That's kind of what I was.
Yeah.
And that's why it's going to be a little not disconcerting, but it might be a little bit, how would you say that? A little bit more complicated to tell you like a
The
2-bedroom
different.
unit in Porcupine is going to rent out for, $1,500 a month, when a 2-bedroom in the south end of Timmins is going to rent for $500 a month. It's not necessarily like that.
Yeah, like in
Uh,
cities, like Toronto, right? Like, driving 10 kilometers takes about like an hour. So, like, whereas so that's why rent matters by area, right? Like what school you're in, where you work, right? Whereas if you live in Timmins, I'm sure there's not crazy traffic, right? Like compared to Toronto.
yeah, like
So,
the your distance between Mount Joy, which is on the left-hand side of your map, down to Porcupine is
yeah,
20 minutes.
20 minutes, right? So,
Yeah,
you know
so
what I mean?
one end to the other end of the city is like 10 minutes.
Okay, so like generally, like people don't really, they don't care too much about the area. They're more concerned with the condition of the unit, right? So you could buy a property in a bad area and have a terrible unit and get low rents, or you could vice versa. You could buy a property in a very good area and have a very shitty apartment, and you're not gonna get the same level of tenants or the rent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But we could sort of generalize a little bit just to give you an
I know what
idea
I
what
mean.
areas of the city I would,
Avoid,
discuss. Well,
yeah.
avoid for investors, and areas of the city
Mhm.
that I would tell my investors, this is a good area to invest and that kind of stuff.
Okay,
Okay, so
perfect.
we'll start with the south.
All right, let's start with the South of Timmins. So,
Hey,
yeah.
Timmins South.
Yeah.
Pretty much that big block that you see there kind of encompasses Timmins South. Um, the average price single detached home is about $176,000 in that
Mhm.
area. Um, let's see, what else can I tell you? I could tell you that Timmins South is a C minus area.
Okay.
And again, with the rents, I don't think that you want me to go through the rents every single
No, no,
section.
we can skip
Um,
that. Yeah.
but again, the 2-bedroom unit would be in the ballpark of $1,200 a month,
Okay. And
depending on the condition.
is this area contain a lot of single families, or is it just comprised of duplexes, triplexes? What's the
Mostly residential, single family,
okay.
but it's one of the more it's one of the areas where you could get some nice income properties as well.
Okay.
Like that would be a nice place, a reasonable place to get a good cap rate and return on investment, that kind of stuff. That would sort of be one of the areas I would recommend in the south end of Timmins.
Okay. And what cap rates are we looking at? Just a range for this area?
Well, if you're dealing with 5 units or more, let's say the average is about 12.59
12.
percent cap rate. However, if we're talking
Woo!
about the typical guy, well, yeah, it's different, right? If we're talking about the typical investor, 2 to 4 units, 7 to 10, let's say 7.23% would be your average cap rate. That's been affected though by COVID. It was a little higher pre-COVID, and now it's sort of gone down. But investors, because of the sellers market in Timmins and how people are being aggressive with multi-units, it's kind of skewed the numbers a little bit. But typically pre-COVID, or once COVID is done, you could expect, in Timmins, it's not unreasonable to look close to 8 or 10% cap rate. I like to get my guys, 10% cap rate. But again, we're not necessarily going to get into a conversation about cap rates,
Yeah.
but cap rates can be fickle, right? Because a
Yeah.
high cap rate can basically mean, oh, there's lots of money coming in, but it's probably not in the best of neighborhood. A lower cap rate is not necessarily a bad thing, because that could just mean that it's a more secure investment, turnkey, nothing to do type of idea, So you got to weigh that with other forms of numbers. When you run the numbers, you say the cap rate is one of many ways to sort of figure out if it's a solid investment.
And also like the potential, right? The cap rate could be low, but like your tenants could be paying like, $200, $300 for a single, for a 2-bedroom, right? Just because it's super under rented, right? So not
Yeah,
necessarily
exactly.
not necessarily like, there's a lot of potential that, there could be a 12 cap, but you're buying it at like a 5 or 6, right? Just because it's super under rented.
Yeah,
But
because typically what you want to do to raise your cap rate, you either increase your income or decrease your expenses.
Yep.
So sometimes if you get a unit and the guy says to you, he says, listen, my tenants have been awesome. They pay every month. So in helping them out, what I've decided to do is not raise the rent for the past 10 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then they go to sell their unit and they got rents of $400, $500, which is ridiculous because now that extremely affects the value of
The house,
their multi
especially,
because
especially if you're looking at it from a cap rate perspective, right? So
cap rates, return on investment, GRMs, cash flow, operating expense ratio, all that kind of stuff. What I like to do for my clients is I sort of put together this whole picture of this investment based on different criterias. And then we use that as a guideline and we could compare different multis and the numbers, like I had mentioned to you earlier, I'm kind of a numbers guy. The numbers kind of speak for themselves.
Yeah.
And then you look at the numbers and you say, oh crap, look at, this is, all these numbers are leaning towards this investment or the other investment. And then it's the visual inspection that comes secondary.
Yeah, I got you. All right, Jack, can you tell us about these three areas, Bonaventure, Mount Joy, and Upper Mount Joy?
Absolutely. The area, well, it's not only Bonaventure, but we just call it Bonaventure. There's other streets around it. But what I can tell you is that's definitely an A+ area. The average home is $476,000.
176.
Now, just keep in mind too that in Toronto you have like these very, very high numbers. In Timmins, $476,000 is like a huge house. It's a beautiful, beautiful home. It might be a little different, obviously, down south and that kind of stuff. But in Timmins, if you're looking at anything above 3, you're getting a nice house, like a really nice house.
Like how many square feet?
They go from like 2,400 up. You could get like acres and acres of land. Well, not Bonaventure, mind you, but for that kind of price, you could get some beautiful homes in Timmins. However, what I'll say is this here: Bonaventure, you're not really going to find rental properties there.
Yeah, maybe fix and flips. Maybe fix and flips, but yeah, we'll move on.
That would be a hell of a flip though, because you'd be buying, a $500,000 home. But I mean, if it's like the investors say, buy the shittiest house on the block, not the most expensive, and then renovate, you're going to get your money back.
100%.
Mount Joy.
Yeah,
Mount Joy is actually kind of newer in Timmins. It's a very nice location. Not a bunch of multis in Mount Joy. And if you're able to get one, it would be great. It's a good area to invest in. The Mount Joy area is a B-. Average house is 260,000.
That's still a lot.
Nice area.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The one up from it.
Upper Mount Joy?
Yeah, Upper Mount Joy is a little higher end. There's some nicer places up there, like on acres and stuff like that there. I would put the average home around 300,000 in that area. But again, not a lot of multis, if any. So we should move on.
Jack, can you talk about this area, Timmins North, and then this one right here?
Absolutely. Timmins North is an older part of Timmins.
Okay.
It's still relatively well maintained. People are putting a lot of money in their houses, but it is an older part of Timmins. So the houses were built back in the day, It is a C- area, and the average price single detached home is about $178,000.
$178,000. Okay. And are there a lot of duplexes or triplexes, or this is like a primarily single family area?
There are some duplexes. There are some 2 houses on 1 lot. Not a lot of triplexes, but every once in a while you come across one, or something like that, or something that was converted and that kind of stuff. But yeah, there are some available.
Okay, awesome.
The area right below it, which is that part there, I just cut out that little part there. It includes 5th Avenue, 6th, 2nd Avenue. There has been some questionable characters in that area. It's kind of devalued the area a little bit.
Okay.
The average price home in that area is about 131,000. It's a D+ area.
D+. So there's if you're willing to buy, if you're willing to deal with headaches, this could be like a good area to, what I mean, buy something cheap and get good rent, right? But a lot of headaches, right?
Well, I would probably suggest to you that if you're looking on a multi in that area, you may get a good deal and a really nice cap rate due to the area, because people understand that that's, just as long as, once in a blue moon, you don't mind looking outside, seeing a crackhead walk down the street.
Gotcha.
There's some questionable people in that area. But I mean, I actually have friends that live in that area, and it wasn't always like that. It's only the last 3-4 years that some people have moved in there, and it kind of affected the neighborhood a little bit. But typically it's okay. Like, I mean, Timmins is relatively a safe town, but I mean, it is what it is.
I got you. All right, let's move to this area right here. I think you named it the Hill District by Giles Lake.
Yeah. Gillies Lake.
Lake, my bad.
Yeah. It's C+ area. Average price single detached home is $220,000. There are some income properties that would be available in that area. It's a nice area. It's older, but we call it the Hill District because way back in the day, there was a lot of lawyers and judges and people like that built up on the hill, and there's really nice houses up there, but it is older.
And I'm guessing there the lake is there too, right? So like people probably get good views.
Yeah, like anybody that has sort of that lake frontage is also like nice. But there is a street between the lake and the people, so you don't actually have
fair enough. No waterfront properties.
Yeah, right? There's no waterfront properties. You don't have access, and I'm not even sure I would spend a lot of time in that lake.
Yeah, don't kill
swimming or anything.
And is this a primarily single family area, or is this more duplex? Yeah, single family.
Yeah, homes? Pretty much everything that we're going through, like in Timmins, it's primarily single family detached homes is the major, and then every once in a while you get the triplex and the duplex, that kind of stuff. Okay. But the majority, and the funny thing too is that we don't have like a section of Timmins where that's where all the triplexes are, or that's it's more, it's kind of spread out everywhere. Gotcha. But they tend to stay out of the A areas, the A+, the A-, the B. Yeah.
I get you. And the next area is the hospital district.
The hospital district is a B- area. It's a nice area. Not a lot of multis in that area because we're going up in scale. However, the average price home there is about $280,000.
And do you, as an investor, would you get great tenants if you bought real estate close to the hospital?
Well, or does it not matter? Yeah. Well, the hospital can definitely be a pull for professionals that are working in the industry, and doctors, locums, nurses, professionals. So obviously there's some people there that you could probably get more rent from. And but again, it depends on the quality of the unit, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But it being close to the hospital is definitely a benefit for some people.
Gotcha. And then next up we have, I hope I'm pronouncing this right.
Laving. Hey, that's on French a bit. Laving. Yeah, it's Laving Boulevard. Basically, that's a high-end area of Timmins. Okay. The average house is about $543,000.
Wow. So this is even better than the ones we talked about.
Bonaventure, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because it's right in the middle. But what I can tell you is that you would be hard pressed to find any type of
investment properties there, right?
Yeah. There's not going to be triplexes, duplex, anything like that. They're just beautiful friggin' homes.
Nice. And then the next one is the Upper Melrose.
Upper Melrose B+. Average price single detached is $300,000. A lot of new builds and some really nice homes in that area. Unfortunately, not a lot of multis, but it is a nice area to live in.
Okay, for sure. And then next up we have Melrose. Yeah,
Melrose B- area. The average price is $250,000. Lots of semis.
Okay.
Lots of semis in there. Good place to invest. It's well liked. It's a nice, safe neighborhood. So if somebody wanted to invest in Melrose, they'll do okay. They don't have a lot of crappy homes and that kind of stuff. Like, it's pretty well maintained. It's Are there a lot of triplexes? Not a lot. Duplexes, i.e. a semi, both sides, some duplexes. Yeah, that would be an okay place to invest.
Okay, but you're not gonna get the crazy cap rates that you would get in the Timmins North area.
No, probably not as high as you would get
Of course, right?
in other places. So right now, the way we stand is Melrose area. If you could hook up with a semi or some kind of investment property there, you'd be doing okay, depending, of course, on other factors. Timmins North, Timmins South, those are the two areas that most people would be investing.
Okay. All right. Next up, we're kind of getting away from Sudbury a little bit, but
Yes, especially if we're
Shoemaker.
not in Sudbury and we're in Timmins.
Oh, sorry. We're getting a little away from Timmins. My bad.
Timmins.
Yeah. So tell me about these two Schumacher blocks. So let's start with Schumacher Father Costello first.
Father Costello Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically what I did is, well, first of all, Timmins is about maybe, I don't know, I'm going to go with maybe 10 minutes away from Schumacher. So it's not that far. You drive to Schumacher. When you first come into Schumacher, there's sort of an area that's not necessarily, well, let's just say it's a D minus area, and the average house is about $99,000, the average detached. There's quite a few investment income properties in that area, but they tend to be on the, well, D minus area.
Okay.
And then when you take over the rest of a Schumacher
secondary,
yeah, Schumacher secondary, what you're looking at is an average price of 172,000 as opposed to the 99,000. Not a lot of income properties in there, but if you could find some, you probably do okay. It's a nicer part of Schumacher.
Wow, there's like, so average house here is about 99,000, and average house over here is about 175,000. So there's quite a bit of difference, like,
which is very surprising. Yeah.
Okay. And I see there's a Porcupine ski runners here too. So if you're, I guess if you're a skiing fan, you can just drive here. You don't really need to live in Schumacher. So scratch that. So next up,
the Porcupine ski runners.
Yeah. All right. Next up, let's move to this part. Is this called Porcupine? This entire area?
The area, if you look if you look at the first two areas on the left, that's kind of South Porcupine, and then if you look at the area on the right, right to where your mouse is, right there, that's Porcupine.
Okay. Let's start with South Porcupine first.
South Porcupine, in a nutshell, nice place to invest. Houses are relatively reasonable. Cap rates are reasonable, close to Northern College, which is good if you like the student rental business, that kind of stuff, and you're okay with the turnover. Then that is a good area to invest for that. Let's see. What do we got for South Porcupine? B minus overall. So B minus, the average house, 253,000.
253. Okay. And how about the South Porcupine upper?
The upper part of South Porcupine would be a B minus area, and the average price single detached home is 253,000.
Okay.
So it's a little higher end than South Porcupine. It's a little nicer area. The average duplex is around 160,000 ish. But again, there's not a lot of income properties in that area. If you're looking for income properties, probably South Porcupine, you're better off.
Okay, and can you talk a little bit about the Northern College and what the student rental market is like there?
Well, Northern College is also a hub for the North, and they also integrated Laurentian University courses. Well, not a lot, but there's some Laurentian, like the nursing program is through Laurentian, that kind of stuff. You have a lot of people that come down to Northern College, and they come into the city, and basically they're here for however long their course is, and they're looking for rental properties. Some of those students do live in Timmins, but you would have to take a bus, which is about 20 minutes or so, to Northern College. But due to COVID, I'm not even sure what's going on there anymore. But aside from that, if I was a student and I didn't have a car and I could find a rental unit in South Porcupine, which is, a hop, skip, and a jump away from the university / college, that would probably be beneficial to me.
Yeah, and do you know if the students who go to Northern College, are they international students, or are they students like Canadian students who kind of who live in Timmins who go to Northern College, or is it a mix? Like,
It's definitely a mix, but what I could tell you is in the last few years, there's been a lot of East Indians that are going to Northern College, and that they all seem to be looking for rental properties. And I heard something along the lines of Northern College has made some kind of agreement with the Chinese government or something where they're expecting to have some Chinese people come as well.
Okay.
But I haven't seen that around that much. I haven't seen uh, um, that take effect yet, but it might be something that happens. Well, COVID
In the
messed everything
future.
up, right?
Yeah, like what I like about like student rentals is that like if the kids are hardworking, and then they're not here to like party or anything like that, especially poor international students, right? Because they're putting all their money into it, so they're not gonna like mess around, right? And they're not gonna like trash your place or anything like that. And I think they make like great tenants, right? Because they're not here to joke around, right? Whereas like kids who grew up here like myself, like we're just partying 24/7. I'm joking, but you know what I mean, right?
Sure you are.
Yeah. All right, let's move to this part of town, and I think this is called Porcupine.
Yeah, well, what I can tell you about the East Indian students and that kind of stuff is I haven't had a lot of complaints from
Yeah.
investors and that kind of stuff. Typically, there's not that nightmare
Tenant. Yeah.
scenario where you have a tenant, they know the rules, they try to screw you over, they don't pay for months and months, they fight you in the system. They're
Yeah.
not necessarily known to do that. They're here for an education. They're typically smart because they are going to college and university. They just want to live, learn, and move on, sort of thing.
Exactly.
So I agree with your comments. Porcupine is actually, strangely enough, further from Timmins and South Porcupine and the other areas. It's about, I'd say 20 minutes out, maybe a little bit more from Timmins.
Okay.
Strangely enough, the values are pretty high in Porcupine. It's a C plus area. The average house is around $238,000.
Okay.
There unfortunately is not a lot of rental incomes. It's really bizarre in in Porcupine.
Okay.
They're mostly like they got a couple or a few, I should say, like big units, like 5, 8, 10 units, that kind of stuff. But for duplexes and triplexes, like there's hardly nothing. Like there's not a lot there.
Okay.
If you were able to find something, you'd do okay. But you're far away from everything, mind you. You're not, you'd have to have a car, let's say, if you wanted to travel to Timmins and that kind of stuff. But it is what it is. So I don't even think we should mention. Porcupine wouldn't be a place I would, unless I had an investor that was looking for like a 10-plex or something.
Okay. It doesn't make sense to have like most of your portfolio in Timmins and then have a couple of units in Porcupine, right? It just makes a kind of logistical nightmare, right?
Yeah, well, the only good thing about it is that Porcupine is like 20-ish minutes away from Timmins. And, for most people down south, that's going to the corner store.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Anyways, thank you. I think I have a better understanding of Timmins, like just the whole area. So thank you for preparing all of this. Before we sign off, like, do you want to do you what's the best way for people to contact you if they want to learn more about Timmins?
I provided you
The card,
with a copy of my card. I don't know if you could put it up there or whatever.
I'll
but
try.
Basically, text or call me at 705-221-5597. We could have a conversation. I could see what you guys are looking for, what you're looking for as an investor, see if we match as far as the way we're thinking, that kind of stuff, and then start the process through setting you up on a collaboration center and working together, and then have a guy working for you in Timmins, looking for numbers that make sense financially and that banks understand and investors understand. Basically, the reason I kind of moved over to multi-units is because I get it. I understand about the numbers, the cap rates, all that kind of fun stuff, and you're able to compare it. And basically, I'm trying to make some people some serious money. And I know some of the pitfalls that come with being a property owner. And I like to work with property owners that are serious. And that's about it. Feel free to call me, or if ever you're going to invest in Timmins. Yeah, and I apologize if, yeah.
Anyways, thank you again for everything. Thank you for preparing everything, and really appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you, sir, for having me, and have yourself a great day.
Please subscribe. That way you can get a notification when we release more videos. And if you like the video, just like it on YouTube, you know? Anyways, thank you so much for watching it. Take care.